Hello and welcome to the program. I am Deji Badimasi and you're watching Analysis. Public universities in Nigeria may be shut down yet again as the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has said it could embark on another strike action in the coming weeks due to what the union says is the failure of the federal government to honor the agreement both parties signed up to last December. Now, it says on the basis of that agreement, it was actually on the basis of that agreement that the union called off their strike at that time. So the union, in a statement issued at the end of its Southwest zonal meeting recently, explains that the federal government is in arrears of major components of the agreement, and that includes funding for revitalization of public universities and academic allowances and the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement, among other things. The union says if the federal government continues to foot drag in implementing the agreement, it will embark on an indefinite strike action at any moment. And once that happens, the strike action will not be called off until all agreements are fulfilled. The union further clarified that the impending strike by the university lecturers is a last resort to draw government's attention to their plight and not to derail academic activities in Nigerian universities. Joining me on the program now to discuss this further is the president of ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. Thank you very much, Professor Osodeke, for joining us on the program. Can you shed more light on why your union, ASUU, is considering yet another strike?
Thank you very much. If you recall that in 2019, the federal government and ASUU had an agreement that agreement will be renegotiated every 3 years.
Yes.
And today is the 12th year, and that agreement has not been implemented as we agreed. And one, among the issues that have arisen from that agreement that are still outstanding are one, the issue of revitalization fund. After that agreement in 2012, the government set up a team to go around all the universities, look at their degree of decay, and report back to government. That's the need assessment report that catalog all the problems in the universities that are really, by all standards, are below any standard in the world. In some hostels, you have students sharing one room. You have people using stove as Bunsen burner in a laboratory in the university, amongst others. Students having lecture from windows. Based on that, it was agreed that federal government will release some of 1.3 trillion naira over 6 years period to address this decay. After the first release, nothing had been done. That is one of the issues. In our MOA of 2020, the government agreed that they will release 30 billion immediately to public universities nationwide as a sign of commitment to implementing that agreement. That money was just released about 2 weeks ago. Part of it, 20 billion out of the 30 was released about 3 weeks ago. Then we have the issue of an academic allowance. As you know, when you enter any Nigerian university, the ratio of academic staff to students is about 1 to 30, 1 to 40. It's on university 1 to 50. Meanwhile, the one recommended by NUC is between 1 to 9 and 1 to 15, which means every lecturer is doing additional job to what he ought to do. That is the origin of the EAA. And they are owing backlog of so many years. The last time, 2020, we agreed, let's mainstream it. Let it be part of the salary so that we don't be talking about arrears, which government agreed. Till now, we are just being told that they are releasing 22.127 billion as part of that mainstreaming, which means the backlog of more than 4 or 5 years is still outstanding. Then we have the issue of our salaries being paid by IPs. By all standard IPs, it shall be shown. The report recently by the Auditor General of the Federation, which I want them to release to the public, will challenge the Auditor General to release that report on IPs to the public. And you see that the IPs is completely useless. It's a fraud from what the Auditor General reported. I want the Auditor to release that report to the public. And we say, you cannot be paying us with such a payment system that by all standards should not be used anywhere. And two, it does not capture the university peculiarity of universities, lecturer coming from another country and what have you. And as of today, we still have some colleagues who are still being owed 2011, 9 or so months salary arrears. And we are saying, in place of that, let us develop a homegrown system for you that will capture all these peculiarities. which the government agreed. And based on that, ASUU submitted our own homegrown solution called University Transparency and Accountability Solution, UTAS, to government to be tested by NIDA. In February last year, the report was sent to NIDA. As of now, we are hearing rumor that the report has been released on newspapers. We've not seen a hard copy. Then we had a negotiation. Hello?
Okay. There are certain questions I want to ask you. As at the last count, the last time I checked, there are about 170 universities in this country. And I think 79 of them are private. Federal universities are 43, and state universities 48. So there are more state universities, as a matter of fact, than we have federal universities. Now, what I want to find out from you is this. Is the federal government actually in breach of all these things that you have identified, or you are lumping the federal government and the states? Because we know that the federal government, for instance, is not responsible for state universities. I mean, the federal government is essentially responsible for federal universities. So why then would your union now want to take out some of these issues on the federal government when, as a matter of fact, state governments are actually responsible?
Thank you very much. You mentioned very well that federal government have about 47 universities. I hope I'm right.
Yeah, 43 actually.
In every state of the federation, the federal government has a university in every state. So which means that the federal government is a proprietor to about 40-something university, but there is no state government who is a proprietor to more than 4 universities. So if you are starting a struggle on that level, you should hold the one that have the highest number of universities.
As a matter of fact, the highest number of universities, when you talk about government now, the states actually have the highest number of universities, 48 as against 43 of the federal government. What I'm actually asking is that, the reason I'm asking you this is it fair to now hold the federal government for the failure of the states?
No, when ASUU is going on strike, we are not going on strike against federal government. We are going on strike against the government of all public universities. That's why if University of Abuja goes on strike, Abia State University will go on strike. So it's not about federal government. While we're on that strike, while we're calling federal government to take care of issues affecting the federal and general, we expect every state to also take action on universities in that state. So it's not a peculiar university.
But part of the reasons now, Prof, part of the reasons why I'm asking you this is that because of this situation, don't you think you would continue to have this kind of situation now where you would reach an agreement, and at the end of the day, the agreement you reach will be difficult to implement? Because look, it will be difficult for the federal government, for instance, to force down these agreements it's signed with you on the throat of the various states. And let's tell ourselves the truth. The various states are not equal when it comes to funding, when it comes to revenue and all of that. So the reason I'm asking is, don't you think a different approach should be adopted altogether? Because the way it is, it's like you're still going to continue to have this back and forth game, if you like, because it's difficult to see how the federal government can actually force states to sign up to agreements that they cannot meet.
It seems as if you have made up your mind before this interview.
No, not exactly, Prof. I'm just asking. Not exactly.
So why don't you listen to me? Like you have made up your mind to come and see what you can do.
Yeah, Prof. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Good. When you look at the renegotiation team that we negotiated with, it's made up of pro-chancellors of universities, federal and state. 3 pro-chancellors for federal and 2 for state. So we're not negotiating with federal government, we're negotiating with the government made up of the government team and the federal and state. So it's not about one section. And let me also explain to you, most of these issues at the state university, some of the state universities have implemented them. In academic allowance, a number of universities have implemented. They are paying it on a monthly basis. So it's not correct that we are just against the federal government. They have the will. When there is minimum wage review, where is it done? Is it not the federal level? Does the state talk about wages? So if we are negotiating wages about our amount, but it's not like you have national minimum wage. It's a general thing, don't have the federal. So I don't think there is a dispute at all. We don't have it.
Now, another thing I want to ask you, Prof, is this. Is there no other way to resolve this issue other than embarking on strike?
Thank you very much. I told you that this agreement was reached in 2009, and we agreed that every 2 years it will be renegotiated, which means by 2012, we would have negotiated. Are you following? The federal government did not come for the negotiation, they refused. All this issue was what we have done within that 3 years. Now, it's 12 years after. None of those issues have been met. We've gone on a strike. They say we will do A, B, C, D. We will come back. They will not do it. We will have MOA with timeline on where they will do them, and they will not do them. In August, they told us that we finish all this issue by August. They didn't. In October, they said they will finish by October. They didn't. November, the same thing. We gave 3 weeks to do this issue. We didn't mention the war strike. We said resolve this issue within 3 weeks. 3 weeks passed. They didn't. This is the 5th week, and they have none. If we have been patient all this time, my dear friend, what do you want us to do? To abandon the issues?
Not exactly. Absolutely
Good.
not. Yeah, and I'm still going to ask you that question again, Prof. You don't think there's any other way, that the only language the government understands is the language of strike?
We have told the public, including our colleagues in the press, tell us what else to do. Let me put it to you. Tell us what we should do. I've not exhausted all these things that any human being with. I have a professor who has not earned salary for 20 months. 20. We have not earned salary for 20 months. Me, my salary was about 500,000 before. I please cost it to 400,000. So after all this, since 2020, when we came back, and now, and they are not done, what else do the public, Nigerian people, want us to do? We should abandon the university like the way they abandon primary and secondary school, that they are out there now. I can assure you as we are now, although we have about 70-something public university and 80-something private, 95% of Nigerian students are still in the public.
Absolutely.
Because of our struggle.
That's true.
Because of our struggle. The teachers in the primary secondary school abandoned the struggle, and today the so-called private schools have taken over everything, churning out people who cannot make it, who cannot compete anywhere. Do we abandon the university to also go to private? How many parents can pay 3 million as school fees as you have in many private universities in Nigeria? How many parents can pay fee of 1 million a month when their minimum wage is 30,000? So our struggle is not about we, it's about the Nigerian public. And we expect all the parents, the students, our colleagues in the press, everybody to be involved in this struggle. Once we are involved, we will go back and let you Nigerian people fight for what we have. They'll give you some money. Is it correct? Nigeria is just taking a loan now for NEPA, for power supply. Taking a loan. In the power sector, you have sold out. You are taking a loan to go and aid the power sector. And you leave the education sector like the critical part of the system. Is it right?
Well, I mean, there are quite a number of issues to unpack on this whole subject. Professor Sadeke, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you and welcome.
Yeah. I will take a short break now and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Nigeria is currently faced with an unprecedented wave of different but overlapping security crises. From kidnappings to extremist insurgencies, almost every corner of the country has been hit by violence and crime. And with every attack, human lives are lost or permanently damaged, diminishing faith in the country as each day passes. As if that is not enough, earlier this week, a joint security force now in Imo State raided a kidnapper's den in the eastern part of the country now, and discovered villages where human flesh are eaten and all forms of atrocities committed. The villages in Uli community at Ihiala local government area of Anambra State and neighboring towns in ASUU local government area of Imo State have been turned to ghost towns. Criminal elements have now turned the communities into their abode, with pits serving as makeshift graves everywhere, as well as cash snatched from kidnapped victims. Another shocking thing that was discovered in these crime towns, if you like, if we may call it that now, is that the criminals practice cannibalism, where the roast human bodies. How exactly did we get to this stage? At the end of the raid, the security operatives arrested 30 suspected criminals and rescued several kidnapped victims from their den. Joining me now to discuss this situation further is security expert Patrick AGBAMBU. Patrick, thank you very much for joining us on the program. And of course, Patrick joins us from Akwa Ibom State. Patrick, tell me how shocked you were at the discovery of that joint force now that raided that den in Imo State.
I must tell you, my brother Deji, I would say I was shocked. I wasn't, because I knew that the situation that we are facing in this country right now is becoming very, very precarious, very, very terrible. But shocked because I never believed that in these modern days that some people will be eating human flesh for whatever purpose. But we saw it coming, because this set of people were given directive by their leaders that when they kill, they should behead, they should burn them, they should roast them. And so that, as human nature, they decided to now convert this flesh to meat, which is so sad that it's happening in the country right now.
And the point is that, because you talked about the leader, the IPOB has come out to say that, look, these individuals are not members of its group now, and all of that. What do you make of that?
Deja, I will tell you for the truth that they are lying in that claim. They set up so many camps, ESN, Eastern Security Network, they call it. IPOB cannot disassociate themselves now from the activities of Eastern Security Network because they were trained. Intelligence reports established that they were trained in various locations in area, in Ihiala Aziz. They were trained in Imo State, in Ugota Aziz. They were trained in Olu, in part of Imo State. They were trained even in Delta State, in some part of Delta State, before they were deployed. Some of them went to Abia State to take oaths, before they were deployed to take position. So they took up camps in various places where they could establish. They took up various communities. It's on record that so many communities were threatened, or less.
But is it not a surprise that, these individuals, these criminals existed in that community, were committing these atrocities, and nobody ever said anything at all? Intelligence did not leak until now.
The truth of matter is that they played on the intelligence of most Nigerians. Many Nigerians were more concerned with what is happening in the northern part of Nigeria, northeast and northwest, and some parts talking about the Fulani headsmen killing.
I'm even talking about the people of the community. Why didn't they report? Why didn't they come out before now to report this?
That's where I'm coming to. They were busy doing all this, whereas within there are so many communities, even River State as we speak. It's on record that some people have deserted their communities into the bush because they are afraid of some boys that are terrorizing them. Communities they are compromised their positions. They knew what is happening, but they were frightened. They were threatened because that if any of them speak, that they will kill them, they will raise their homes down and all that. So many of them were scared. They would rather run for their safety than to give intelligence to the security agencies. And that is what happened. Some of them whom I will have met, some who ran, leaving their communities to Owerri in Imo State. I spoke with two of them who says their community is not safe, it's no go area, that they can't even go there. And I asked, why can't you give information to the security agencies? He said because they don't know how these boys track and find out that information has been passed, that maybe they're using juju. That is their belief. But the truth of the matter is that some of these community members, they are complacent. They know what is happening, but because they felt that it's not against them, because the belief is that we are forming a camp to fight against the Fulani headsmen, and some of them left their homes and their farms for these criminals.
It's quite shocking that anybody would be practicing cannibalism. I mean, cannibalism at this time. But let's talk about that of the Northwest. Of course, you saw that incident that happened in Sokoto where uh, a busload of passengers were set ablaze and burnt even beyond recognition. And then the response we have seen so far, we saw President Buhari asking some of the service chiefs to go to Sokoto. A delegation was sent there and all of that. And we have this consistent attack happening around that axis. And one name has consistently been mentioned, Bello Turuji. Why is it difficult to address this issue? Why is it difficult to deal with the issue in Sokoto? Because it appears to be getting out of control.
Yes, it's getting out of control. Just as always, when Nigeria we don't take security issues seriously as it should be. I hope and believe that this time around something drastic would come out of this, something positive will come out of this drastic measure that has been taken. I can't rule out the involvement of our neighboring country in this regard, Niger, because it's on record that Bello Turji has dual citizenship and dual relationship with some people in Niger, and so it's easy for him to cross over and disguise in different forms. That is the information we gathered from that axis. Even when the troops went there and they were able to dislodge his camp and kill so many of them, it was very obvious that he couldn't. He had already left the camp because of this. He has foreknowledge of the activities that happen, and it's a problem because communities in Nigeria have refused to do what they should do. They should give information on time when they know he existed in that area. He had been there. In some cases, information we gathered was that he even provides soccer to some people, play as a godfather and all that. So he gets protection from them. And so they pass information when the troops are moving. And that has made it look as if it's invisible. But with this situation, I'm sure that very soon he will be gotten. Not just him. I hope and pray that other ones that are terrorizing the country in the Northwest will also be gotten very soon.
All right, very quickly before I let you go, we've always said, look, I mean, we've always discussed the possible solution to all of this, but you hear some of the comments coming from some of the governors from the Northwestern region. It appears they know what the solution is. So let me just read some comments now from the governor of Katsina State when they went to visit the former governor of that state, former governor of Sokoto State now, that went on a condolence visit recently. And here's what the Katsina State governor said. Let me just read that to you from my phone now. He said, the issue of banditry in the northwestern part of the country is not beyond us. We know the problem and the solutions are something that we as a people are capable of doing. This is provided that all of us take responsibility and stop the blame game. Banditry, especially our own in the northwestern part of the country, can easily be dealt with all hands put on deck. He went on to say, we need to know where the bandits are recruited. At what price are they recruited? All these are issues that are very well known to us. These are issues we should have the capacity to do, provided there is determination, there's leadership, and there is political will. So when you hear a governor say that, a governor whose state, of course, is also facing this challenge, then the question you ask yourself is, if they know the solution, why are they not able to come up with this solution? Why are they not applying the solutions to the problem?
Deji, I must say the governor has actually owned up to the reality, which is that they know the problem and they know the solution. Failure to do that means that I will support those who say that the president should call a state of emergency in any of those troubled states so that we can have a solution. You can have a solution to. You can't know the solution to the problem and you don't take action immediately and protect your people from being killed. It's so sad that a chief security officer of a state knows the solution and will not do it. The statement is an indictment on them, and I believe that when after the report from Sokoto State got to the president, the governor of Sokoto State, frightened, felt that there may be a decision against, and he decided to meet the president himself. They are trying to protect their seats by pleading against state of emergency. But if this will continue, instead of Nigerians being killed wantonly I think there's need for state of emergency in those states so that solutions can be found.
But we also cannot deny the fact that at this moment in time, there's every need for massive recruitment into the security agencies in this country.
I may not totally agree because recruitment into the security agencies has to be strategic. You don't get people. Where do you get? That is the problem we had in some security services where they say, look, we must recruit 1,000 people a year. So those who are looking for jobs who do not have the commitment to work are being recruited. So their interest, it's not to serve the people, to protect the people, but is to make money. So when you go, let us recruit more people to this, you will defeat the purpose. You need to do it more strategic by getting people who really want to serve, who really want to protect the people to come in. I think the solution is to get the communities involved. There's need to buy the communities. Government need to get them to believe that, listen, this is not a fight between the criminals and the security agencies. It's a fight between the country and these criminals. So everybody must work. Look, here in Akwa Ibom, like where we are, you see a lot of like the police people who went on a mission with, they had to bust a criminal kidnapping gang with the support of some community members. These are the things that is needed in whatever we're doing in this country for us to be able to get out of this insecurity situation.
Patrick AGBAMBU, security consultant, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.